Okay, so let's just start by acknowledging that the term super app has become a bit of a buzzword. So kind of in the spirit of, tell me without telling me, I thought maybe we would start by just having each of you describe what your apps offer today. So maybe we can start with you. Guido, tell us what Rappi offers.
Okay, yes. Well, as you may know, probably we're not that comfortable with the super app definition. In Latin America, maybe super can mean different things. I like to use a simpler definition, which is a customer-centric, high-frequency, multi-vertical ecosystem.
Okay.
So what Rappi does, as I mentioned, it's an ecosystem with multiple verticals, with the core being food delivery, groceries, then pharmacy, pets, travel.
Yeah.
There's a fintech vertical too that has a credit card and an account. And a very strong vertical that we are promoting now is the turbo vertical. Turbo that we can get 10 minutes delivery, whether you run out of diapers or you cooked your pasta and you don't have Parmesan. I've tried it, and within 10 minutes we can deliver that for you. So that's basically, and we're born and we're based in Latin America, and that's our market. We operate in 9 countries and 300 cities.
Okay, all right. And Loren, tell us a bit, obviously everybody is fairly familiar with Uber, I think, in our audience, but there's a lot to it maybe that they don't know. So tell us the gamut of what you offer.
Yeah, so we started with rideshare, as most of us have probably used it to get to and from this conference. And then for about a decade, we focused just on that. And then we moved into what is today Uber Eats, continued to iterate on that, expanded into package delivery, items. You can now have things shipped across the country as well in a plane. And then coming in through the end of the pandemic, really, we've kind of accelerated even further. So today you can do flights in the UK, you can do long and short distance trains in the UK, we have buses in the UK. If you go to India, we have intercity options that kind of put you in the back of, similar to a rideshare car, but a shared ride going longer distances. We've continued to iterate and define that overall. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Okay, so let's talk about that a bit more. So I believe it was 2022 that you announced the partnership with Eurostar and Omio for the train and coach bookings in the UK, and then earlier this year with Hopper for flights in the UK. First of all, I have to ask, why the UK?
Yeah, for us, we know we're asking users to engage in a very different way with us. Historically, you've looked at us to open the app, get a ride, very on demand. What we're now asking you to do is open our app weeks, months, days in advance. So we know there's a lot of variables that go into it. So one of the things we wanted to do was, one, start in a market where we have a very active user base that we can consistently test with a large audience. Because we view these all as experiments and seeing where we have the right to play and letting our users tell us through the data that they're sharing with us. So we started in the UK predominantly for the large user base and have a highly active as well, as it's a strong market not only for our mobility business, but also for our delivery business. Then the next step was, we know as you get into travel, loyalty is a really big thing, especially in the US. So we wanted to look in markets where we could take a couple of variables out, test and iterate, and know that, hey, we have Uber One, but we don't have any value props tied to Uber One in the travel space. And for us, it was a sure market to test was the UK for that as well. And then the last one was, we also were really interested in trains and coaches. And I don't think you have the same type of uses here in the US. So it allows us to test a lot in a small area with a very active user base for us.
Okay, so I have to ask, I know on the Q3 earnings call just recently, your CEO, Dara Khosrowshahi, cited some figures, 60% of train and coach users, 25% of flight users in the UK have become repeat users of the service. Can you provide any more color around that or share any more usage statistics?
Yeah, I think for us as we're looking at these, repeat engagement is for sure one of the North Star metrics that we're looking at. The other thing is how they interact with the broader platform. So how are they utilizing Ubers to and from train stations, to and from bus stations, to and from the airports, as we already have a very large airports business. The other thing outside of that was just how do we play around discoverability and test and learn what's the right way to educate a user that we now do these new things. So for us, while we're a little over a year in on trains and coach, we've seen relatively strong performance on that with double digit of, I believe it's up 15% repeat usage on trains. Sorry, I have those inverted. It's up to 60% on a monthly basis.
Okay.
And about 45% when you look at a weekly basis, as trains tends to be a very big commuter use case as well. And when you go to flights, which happens much lower, much higher price point than an Uber X or even a Uber Black, we've seen already about 15% repeat usage, and we're only about 3 months into the journey of it being fully deployed to everyone there.
Okay.
So we've been relatively surprised with that. We went in very healthy skeptics of, do we have the right to play in this? We're asking users to engage differently, and we've beaten our expectations in terms of how we're seeing them come to that, but it's still just an experiment. We have a long ways to go.
Okay, we'll talk a bit more maybe about some of that customer acquisition. So Guido, you started developing travel within Rappi, I believe, just before the pandemic,
Yes.
correct? Yeah, not the best timing, I guess, and then stalled a bit, and then it was just last fall that you announced the partnership with Amadeus. You now offer flights, accommodations, packages, car rentals. Give us a sense of what you're seeing as far as consumer behavior and uptake.
Well, our challenge is understanding our customers. We collect a lot of data from all the verticals, and our mission is, we're very customer-centric, so our mission is trying to solve day-to-day problems to our users. So what we've been seeing is the trend. Most of our users are travelers outside the ecosystem. Okay. So the idea was to understand how we could approach our audiences with travel products. As we know they're travelers, we know they're opening the app in different cities, in different countries. So we've been seeing great conversion rates, especially for some of our cohorts, being the main one, Rappi Prime.
Yeah.
Rappi Prime users are the users that enter Rappi, downloaded the app, and did several orders, and became more frequent users. So we approached them offering this Prime membership, which is one of our main tools to increase retention. So travel is part of that program. We offer special rates, we offer benefits to that close group, and we've been seeing great reaction by our users to our travel offering.
So I know we've just covered your partnership, the launch of your partnership with Marriott.
Yes.
And I know that's only in Mexico right now, but you're planning to roll it out elsewhere. I'm curious, anything that you are already seeing there, and also if there are any particular markets that you're operating in that you see travel being more attractive.
Yes, we launched some weeks ago in Mexico. We're launching next week in Colombia. And we're very excited about this partnership, because it's not, well, Marriott is one of the most famous brands in the travel space, but the deal is not only about travel. Rapid Travel is the door to a huge ecosystem with daily usage for travel brands. So the deal with Marriott has a side or a part that you can book in a flagship store within the Rappi app, but as a Bonvoy user, if you link your account to your Rappi Prime account, you can earn points daily in your daily use of Rappi. So that we're very excited, because it's the first big partnership that we do from travel, but that applies to the whole ecosystem. So we brought frequency to a program that had challenges after COVID in the region. So it's only a few weeks,
yeah,
but we're seeing very interesting numbers in terms of accruing or earning points, and also redemption.
Okay.
You can redeem points if you don't have enough points for a room night. You can come and redeem for a pharmacy order or any other vertical in Rappi.
Okay. So let's talk a bit more about customer acquisition, because and then I was thinking specifically with Uber, and you touched on this a bit, but to me, you tend to think of Uber kind of when you need it right then, as you said. I need a ride, Uber, maybe I need some food, Uber. Particularly flights, that's generally a much longer term process and planning. So what are you doing as far as customer acquisition there? How have you promoted that in the UK?
Yeah, so what we've done since we started roughly 6 months earlier on trains is we started really building out that playbook there of kind of the same thing, shorter distance, but like, how do we communicate something new and different? So we learned a lot from what we've been doing on our training coach business already there. So part of that is, how do we advertise it within the ecosystem of the app? how do we, communicate that over email? So as we first launched the product, we would, tell them all the features that are in it, the benefits, like really what our value prop is that we're doing for the user there. The next things we would then do is do a lot of action-based triggering. So if I know you're taking a ride to an airport, I know you already booked a flight somewhere else. So I'm then going to say, hey, next time you need a flight, check out the Uber app. And other things that we know are kind of indicators for when we think you're about to travel. And then what we've also done is, give some first-time user promotions to try to get you to try your first one, and then with the intention of getting you to come back, which is why when I talked about the metrics earlier, it wasn't first-time users, it wasn't, what our bookings are. It's all about like repeat and seeing the right signal there, where we're not doing promotions. We're just focused on like, do we have a great product experience that adds value to the user and is right in your pocket?
Okay. And Guido, for you, I suppose just in the way Rappi is configured, obviously you have more, I would assume you have more frequent kind of usage. People are opening it regularly.
Yeah.
So talk a bit about your customer acquisition strategy then as far as travel specifically and how you're promoting that.
Well, for us, it's all about data, the contextual data and the amount of data that we have on the users, of course, taking care of all the privacy concerns, etc. But so for non-AR products, it's easier maybe to correlate maybe what you eat, or if you like expensive wines, maybe we can match you with a hotel in Mendoza in Argentina that has a vineyard, sorry. So for flights, also we have data of people traveling or being maybe in the weekends in one city and during the week in another city. So
where they're opening the app.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our customer acquisition, our lake is Rappi. We don't need to go outside. So we have enough data to cross-sell and to understand which brands and which partners we can target to our different audiences with specific spending power. So it's been quite interesting to match that.
And I know when we had talked before about the Marriott partnership, you had made some interesting comments about, I think you said, super apps are a new platform for customer acquisition and loyalty for suppliers.
Yes.
Talk a bit about that. So the benefit that you believe Rappi can bring to the suppliers you work with.
Well, I think in the past, I gave you an example of a hotel that approached me after a conference, and they wanted to do a campaign within Rappi, because they were kind of frustrated with the customer acquisition projects or initiatives they had through search or in other sources. So he approached and said, I have this small hotel in Cartagena that we do yoga retreats and wellness. So for us, it's very difficult to position our hotel in the different OTAs or in Google. So he wanted to do a campaign targeting users that bought almond milk in Rappi. So
because they almost do yoga, right? Everybody that drinks almond milk does yoga.
So that's that's basically that's one of the main propositions that Rappi offers. Latin's mindset. Usually, Latin Americans don't connect so much with international brands. Well, we do, but it's very expensive for international brands. It's a market that it's very successful by locals, especially in Brazil, if you see. So we try to show Rappi as the door for brands to come and access different audiences. So customer acquisition within Rappi for partners, we have 500,000 partners in all the verticals, right?
Right.
So for travel makes total sense. For companies, for airlines or hotels or different, now we're launching more verticals along the time, and coming to Rappi to acquire customers or engage with customers. And we're not, I didn't mention, but we're not necessarily an OTA. The travel vertical is more of a marketplace, like the rest of the Rappi verticals.
Right.
So for us, the customer acquisition is one of our main bullets that we propose to the partners.
Okay. And Loren, maybe can you talk to us a bit about partnerships and how you're making some decisions there? As we said, Omio, Eurostar, Hopper right now, as you're thinking about growing that kind of experiment of travel in the UK, how are you thinking through partnerships?
Yeah, I think generally we operate with a very broad scale across the world. So scale is definitely one thing we look at. So as we've talked with each of these partners, it's, what's your supply look like? What's your coverage? But then because we have our Uber Eats business and our rideshare business, it's less focused on, can I get X% rev share here, or X, a little bit more here. It's really, we dig into the capabilities. So we looked at Omio and said, hey, what do you guys have to offer that makes you unique, that allows us to ultimately differentiate the experience for our users? And we did the same thing when we looked at flights. And when we sat down with the Hopper team, we looked at exactly that scale, capabilities, and then said, who are we willing to build with, knowing that we are trying to do something different. And that was a big one for us, and that's ultimately why we landed with them.
And what about, I know there was some talk of hotels. Is that still in the pipeline?
Yes, we have made statements on hotels in the UK. We have no timing right now. I think, if we were really keen to go really fast into the travel business, we probably wouldn't have started with flights, and we probably wouldn't have started with trains. They're not, not optimizing for how much money we can make there.
Yeah.
We're really focused on where are users taking us to and from today. That's why train stations, flights. We do take a lot of people to and from hotels as well. So it is something that we'll definitely keep an eye on. But first, we don't want to stretch ourselves too thin. So we want to make sure we knock it out of the park with trains, do really well and knock it out of the park with flights, and then we'll continue to look, just as we have with all the other businesses we've launched in the past.
And are you looking at doing anything tied into Uber for business, like for business travelers?
Yeah, it is interesting. So for trains, yes. I think when you get into selling to businesses, it's a very different customer base. At Uber, we use Agencia, so you go through that booking platform. That's not something we are predominantly known for as a desktop solution. And there's a bunch of stuff you have to build on top of that, like how do you, tell the corporation where their employees are? How do you ensure that they're in, a safe area if things go wrong? That's a whole nother tech stack to build. I think first we have to knock it out in the leisure part, and then we can focus outside of that. But for trains and coach, it is something that is very much top of mind right now.
Let's talk a bit about generative AI, of course. And certainly with the announcements last week from OpenAI at their Dev Day, and it seems we're moving closer and closer to having these autonomous agents. Does that potentially minimize, or if not negate, kind of the value of a super app if everyone has an autonomous agent in their pocket?
It's a good question. In our case, Rappi's core businesses include delivery of food, so we're using and we're investing in research with Gen AI more on the support and processes. So I don't know, well, probably we'll get to a point that you'll ask something to cook you a burger at home, but until we get to that point, a lot of our orders involve someone cooking outside where you live and then the delivery. So many things can happen along that way. So for us, support and improving, we see an opportunity instead of a danger there.
Yeah.
An opportunity to reduce times, improve support. So we're more focused on that part of on those use cases more than the other ones.
Yeah, I guess I just am wondering if maybe it just eliminates the need for someone to go to Rappi and to open a Rappi app. And they tell their anonymous agent they want that burger delivered or they want their trip. But I guess it's potentially still on the back end.
Yeah, exactly. That's front end.
Yeah.
Rappi's biggest strength is all the back end, the logistics. So you will need that anyway. So regardless that you use web or a chatbot or the app, what we built over these 9 years was the capability, the ecosystem, and the logistics behind that. So being able to deliver the goods, whether Pro and Rappi is investing in research of the different UX that we can have. So for now, the app is by far the main point of contact with our users.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I think fundamentally, to go after kind of the use case you just talked about, you'd have to have a way for someone to aggregate information across outside of the Uber app. Today, there is no GDSs that sit over a rideshare business or even a package delivery business or even our Eats business. So because we're behind a identified user base, we kind of control where AI can sit or play in that. For us, it's generally, yes, we'll look at it to simplify the in-app experience, but I would be surprised if we ever saw Uber agree to do something like that at that level.
Okay. So I'm curious, do the two of you kind of follow what you're doing, each of you, amongst yourselves? And where else are you looking? Are you watching what's happening, obviously, in Asia? There's a lot more activity with super apps. Where are you learning from?
Yeah, I will say, so we came into the travel space after Rappi did, and I 100% looked at what they were doing. I have their app on my phone today. I also run our package delivery business at Uber, which is also what they're kind of doing in LATAM as well. I focus on the US market, so they've been in the game a lot longer, so it's always good to learn and keep an eye on what others are doing. I think we would be bad operators if we weren't keeping an eye on what everywhere else is doing, as innovation's moving really fast. In terms of like what we see in Southeast Asia, we have a equity stake in Grab, so we do have pretty good relationships and understanding what they're doing, and they bought our business pre-COVID over there. So we're definitely keeping an eye out, but I don't think in any way we go, hey, just because Rappi did this or just because Grab did this, we need to do that. We've done a lot of things in the past that we've spun up, shut down because it didn't work. For us, we want to make sure we take some swings, but also be willing to lose occasionally as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we too. Of course, we have to see what's going on what other players and competitors are doing. We see more similarities with Asia. There's this sort of ecosystem. In the US and Europe, we see that there are maybe 2 or 3 verticals that they're focusing on. But in Asia, we've seen travel also being successful in some of these similar ecosystems. So I think also as regions and the way that the technology is adopted by the citizens of Latin America, it resembles more to the evolution of technology adoption in Asia too.
And what about Google? Because there's often talk that Google is marching toward potentially kind of becoming an ultimate travel app with what they have with Maps and all of the other offerings that they have. What are your thoughts on Google and its role in all of this?
For us, Google is a partner in terms of marketing and analytics and data. Travel is one of the moments for our customers, one of the touch points. The LTV of the Rappi user involves travel, but many other verticals, which I don't see right now Google into, at least in the Latin American region, and I haven't seen it in other regions either. So of course, a partner can be a competitor in the future, but we're not that worried, at least in the verticals we're into and our strategy for the next years.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. We have a very close relationship with Google. Their Waymo vehicles are in our app. So next year when we're having this conference in Phoenix, you can book a Waymo at the airport there and take it to the conference. So we definitely play close with them. I think in terms of travel, we're solving different pain points. We have different value props than what you may find on Google because we are an identified user base, have some different other advantages there as well. But generally, the pie for travel we think is big enough, and ultimately, not everyone wants to book with Uber, and not everyone wants to book with others, so you've got to meet the consumer where they want to be.
Okay. Let's talk just in our last couple minutes here about next steps. What do you see coming next beyond expanding this Marriott partnership into your other markets? Any other offerings that you're going to be adding for travel?
We're very interested in continue adding categories, travel categories. Especially the more frequent one, like tours and activities or other sort of transportation related to travel, not to urban. So I think those are probably for next year. We're going to focus on that too. Keep on adding non-air products that are also more profitable for the operation. So yes.
So tours, activities, experiences, those sort of bookings.
Exactly, and tours and activities relates better also to the other verticals, to food delivery, to Prime, to value props. So offering our users to do tours also in their own city and not necessarily while traveling, because the app is usually open, but millions of our users. So we see opportunities in other categories within travel.
Yeah, and certainly some partnerships there to bring tours and activities on
Pardon
board.
me?
Certainly some partnerships there.
Exactly, yeah. It's all about partnerships for us.
And so I'm curious, any potential, would a next step be to build out what you have in the UK or to try to move that elsewhere? And I also want to mention, and we may even have a photo, you did the balloons in Turkey and boat rides in Greece. So that was, Those almost felt like maybe that was just a random thought that someone woke up and said, let's offer balloon rides in Turkey.
Yeah, we call them stunts. They're short period of times when we do things. So the balloons is actually built on our scheduled rides tech stack. So it's a way that we can get people more aware of alternative options that we have in the app that you maybe just don't know about. And we did the same with boats. You get a lot of press. You don't make a lot of money on it, but it for sure keeps Uber at the forefront of people going to Greece that summer or Turkey for balloons during that 2-week period.
Okay, so, and real quick, so do you envision growth within the UK of what you offer or growth to a new market?
Yeah, I think you can continue to see us lean in pretty heavy in the UK. We just launched our first out-of-home campaign in the UK that's going to be going on for the next couple of weeks. That's a year after we launched trains. So we've been really building out our in-app channels, understanding our customer acquisition costs. We're much earlier in the stage for flights, but you can expect a similar rinse and repeat of us fine-tuning our playbook, leaning into then out-of-home marketing to drive broader awareness, and then continuing to execute on the in-app experience. Today we're super early, so it's a very basic search book with some fintech on flights.
Yeah.
I think now we have to start bringing in the delight. After we solve that, then I think we can take a much bigger look.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Loren and Guido.
Thank you.
You.